using my measuring tape, I went ahead and determined the center going up and down, or left and right rather, and then I figured out the center going up and down. I made my mark. That is the center of the grid. And then I went ahead and I measured the 6.5 inches out from each side of the tile, and I made some marks, and then I laid the tile out. It ended up being a bit crooked how I made my marks, so I went ahead and went to the nearest actual grid that's on the backer board. So that's where I'm going to start my tile at. Now in theory, even though I could just go 4 tiles across and only have cutting on one end, that wouldn't be as neat of an install job. I don't think it would look as good, and by the book that's not how you're supposed to do it. So we're actually starting at the center, and we're going to have cut pieces on either end, and that's the way you're supposed to do it according to the book, and that's how most tile professionals will do it. If you could go 4 across without any cutting, it just wouldn't have as neat of an appearance. And if you started out on this side with a full tile and got to this end and had to do a cut piece, it would look odd having a cut piece over here and no cut piece over here. The symmetry of the tile work wouldn't be right, and it wouldn't flow correctly. It'd look a bit off. So we're going to go ahead and start, and I'm going to get a damp rag, clean off the backer board, get any dust off it, and then I'll go ahead and start laying some tile. So now what we've done is we've gone ahead and I guess you call it dry laying the tile. And I laid the center tile at the very center of the grid, and that center tile, of course, is going to, if that's crooked, everything after that's going to be crooked. So that center tile, that makes or breaks it. So you want to try your best to get that very straight. Now basically what I'm looking for is to make sure that there's no odd cuts around the edges that I won't be able to make, or they'd be too thin, or just ridiculous, and this looks alright. And you can see here on this corner, that's going to work out alright. I'll have 2 45-degree cuts to make, and that should be alright. Okay, now I'm on my way to go get the tile saw, and I'll tell you what, if you ever decide to do the tile yourself, it's my personal recommendation to go to your local rental center and get a actual professional grade tile saw. It makes it so much easier. I think when people try to do tile themselves, and they use the old scored and crack it method, or they try to use a cheap, usually the $99 type tile saws, it's nothing but aggravating. And I could rent this saw for 4 hours for like 36 bucks, I believe it is, and it's well worth it to me. I've used a cheap tile saw on our old house when I did the kitchen wall tile, and it worked alright, but it was smaller tile, and I'll tell you what, I went through a blade, and the blade was like $30 or $40 for it, so I don't know, it just makes sense to me to rent it. And it's quicker, it's easier, and I think it's less frustrating. So we're going to go ahead and pick it up now, and we'll continue off when we get back. Okay, let's go ahead and get this tile saw unloaded. Okay, thankfully on this floor area, it was actually very close to being perfectly level. Now, when I did the entryway, I had to use a self-leveling compound to help level out the floor before I set the tile, because it was all messed up in there. Don't even get me started on that mess. But luckily here, this is pretty easy. I mean, it's fairly flat. You need it to be fairly flat, because if not, you're going to have a heck of a time trying to keep your tiles level and uniform. I'm using an acrylic ceramic tile adhesive pre-mixed. It has a 24-hour dry time. This is exactly what I used before. It seems to have held up well to fairly heavy household traffic. This container is 3.5 gallons. It'll do 35 to 50 square foot, and I need to use a 1/4 inch by 3/8 by 1/4 inch trowel, which I have here. And it goes ahead and gives directions here on how to lay the tile down. I've already cleaned the surface. Now it's time to start spreading some adhesive. Now hopefully Miss Kitty doesn't get in the way, which she probably will. But anyway, since this trowel really doesn't fit in the container very easily, what I end up doing is use a little cheap plastic spackling knife and use that to apply the mastic to the trowel. It's just the way it works for me. Kind of apply it like so. And I'm by no means a professional. Probably pretty sloppy, really. I'm gonna need more than that. Let me make a mark here so I know where my tile goes. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and take the notched end of the trowel. Go ahead and smooth it out. And I need to make sure I have good coverage, which I don't, because around these edges here I don't have enough material. It's very important that you don't have any voids, because if you do, you're going to have issues down the road. So I kind of lay it on thick. I always kind of say, well, the more the merrier. I haven't done this in a couple of years. There we go. I am pretty happy with that right there. You just want good contact. That is the name of the game. I'm being too picky. Okay, I'm going to roll with that. I got my first tile. I'm going to go ahead, give it a quick inspection, make sure there's no chips, cracks, stuff like that. And I'm going to try to line it up. And this is critical again, because if you don't get her just right, everything else from here on out will be crooked. That's why I like this backer board with lines. It makes it a lot easier. And I apply some pressure to the tile like so. I'll work it down in the thin set. And then I take a piece of scrap tile. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and clean up the edges. Put that right back in the bucket. And I'm going to check my lines again. Looks pretty darn close.